2, 1.
Here we go!
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Jenna X. I'm your host, Jenna, and today my special guest that is joining me to discuss the economy of Liberland is JY David. JY is the Chief Advisor to the Government of Liberland and the Director of Financial Institutions, Industry, and Trade. JY, thanks for joining, and could you please share a little bit more about yourself for everyone?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here. I started my career, let's say, in Japan for the Bank of Tokyo a long time ago. And after that, I have gravitated towards other businesses, including television. Eventually went to law school, became a lawyer in Canada, in Toronto. At that point, I actually became, those were the Mulroney years from 84 to 93, and I became the largest private agent to the federal government. So I saw a lot of political files and all kinds of stuff. And unfortunately, the Mulroney government met its demise in 93, and I decided to go do something else. Moved to the US and did all kinds of businesses, and eventually came back to Canada. I lived in Switzerland, France. Came back to Canada a few years back for family reasons, basically. Started a neuroscience company a few years back.
Wow.
3 years ago, I decided to retire, essentially. And this coincided with COVID. And then wanting to do something a little meaningful, impactful, and do something very different. I hooked up with Liberland. I met Vid Jadishka, the president, and Navid Sabaran, who's the Minister of Finance, and signed on to help them. And so as such, my duty became essentially to try to get the economy of Liberland off the ground.
Your title seems to imply a dual role. So can you explain exactly what it is that you do in Liberland?
Yes, I'm the chief advisor in that. I help, let's say, give advice on general matters, and let's say in politics and whatever comes up in a government, right? But the like the day-to-day stuff is done at the level of the economy. And it's as part of the Ministry of Finance. And so the Ministry of Finance has general duties that you find in other government, except that since we don't have money, we don't have a monetary policy, and we don't have a fiscal policy since we're a non-taxing state. Therefore, that leaves pretty much the work of the Ministry of Finance to be developing the economy.
Okay. And obviously, this segment is about focusing on the economy of Liberland. So, JY, can you paint a picture for us of what that looks like?
Yes, my pleasure. The economy of Liberland, basically, on a general level, most of the resources of Liberland were used to develop our blockchain, right? And so we launched it this year, and that is directly the responsibility of our minister, Navid Sabaran. And since he is actually from Luxembourg, we've just registered an investment fund, a development fund for Liberland. Actually, it's in the process of being registered, but the fund has been set up. And but this is not a sovereign fund. This is a development fund, and sovereign fund will be set up a little bit later, and that's meant to take in the money that Liberland will receive for essentially selling land to Liberlanders, and that will be put in the sovereign fund to allow the state to be funded. Because since we're not taxing, we need revenues to make the state function. We have a very, very reduced state, and we want to keep it that way. But nonetheless, it has to be funded, and this is where the funding will come from.
Sure,
So,
sure.
yeah. So that's on the general economic front, let's say. However, on the business side of things, I have to say that Liberland's general principles are those of a libertarian state. So we respect the right of property, the right of individuals, and we believe in free trade. So, and we are a government, not a business. Therefore, we are there to create an environment for businesses to thrive in Liberland. So we're busy putting in place the let's say the elements that will be the foundation for good international business and national business as well. But essentially, since we're a small territory, 7.6 kilometers square, we have to do things beyond our borders, and so we have initiatives. For example, um, we are thinking of becoming a leader in mediation and arbitration around the world. Right now, there's let's say the leaders in the field are Singapore, Geneva, London, and so we would like to eventually be on a level with these people. Since, in fact, in our constitution, we essentially mandate people to use arbitration and mediation rather than litigation to resolve conflicts of all sorts. So that is one thing. I would like to talk also about some of the projects we have. For example, the free trade zone. We have an international free trade zone that we developed because we found that first of all, we had to open a free trade zone someplace since we didn't have access to our land. So we did by signing an agreement with a municipality across the river from Liberland in Apatin. And so they allowed us to open the Liberland free trade zone inside their free trade zone. And this was the first internationally, as far as I know, to have for a country to have a free trade zone inside a free trade zone of another country. So thinking about this a little further, we thought, well, this is a great model to try to make universal. And since we have access to blockchain technology, we thought, why don't we make the blockchain technology the basis for everything in that particular free trade zone and offer that to other countries. And I have to say that generally the G20 countries in the world control about 83% of the international trade. So that leaves only 17% for the rest of the world. And it's very hard, therefore, to live by those rules because those rules of the G20 are for the G20. So if you're a smaller nation and you may want to sort of go around some of the requirements of international trade, being part of what we like to look at our international free trade zone as a sort of a cooperative. And in that sense, the countries that ally with us gain access to an internationally distributed free trade zone, and they all benefit from the same technology. So if they want to go from country to country, in fact, they end up having to only adopt one system for all. And that, since we're also developing areas like banking, and it's using blockchain, we are also making that available to the international free trade zone. Now, the international free trade zone has other dimensions, the human dimension. People know that free trade zones are basically a way to help a country develop, receive transfers of technology. And there's a need for, let's say, improving the quality of the people working there. So we've been contacted with by somebody who wanted to start an open university in Liberland and basically start an MBA program. In fact, this year. So we will be making that very program, this schooling program, available to the enterprises who are in the free trade zone. So it will be a sort of a people who are familiar with co-op education. You study full time and then you go take a training. That will be essentially what we do. So incidentally, that university will at first concentrate on management, but eventually wants to branch out into other areas, like, for example, blockchain technology, teaching the new technologies, um, natural medicine, some of the alternative things that have been neglected over the last century in education. This would be what they would like to do. Now, that's another thing that we do in the economy. Um, what else can I tell you? We well, if you have any question, ask me, because I can go on and on and on.
Absolutely. Well, this is completely fascinating. Now, we're talking about blockchain technology and everything. Is the metaverse an essential part of the economy of Liberland?
Yes, in fact, we are working on two metaverses, and I'm happy you asked that question because it leads into something. We have two different metaverses that are being worked on, and the metaverse, our economy doesn't have to have a metaverse per se, but since we are a virtual economy in the sense that we don't have possession of the land yet, we have to grow outside, let's say, the frame of a normal economy. And a good vehicle for that would be the metaverse, because it gives a certain reality of the land of where we are, and also the future development, what we are planning for Liberland, because we have a development plan that was done for us by the well-known architectural firm Zaha Hadid. And pursuant to that, we can plan out in detail the map out the land for future development, and then make available by way of options online the purchase on some of these on some of the property that will be made available. We have yet to determine the proper land management laws, and I want to talk about the law in a minute. And but that metaverse can be very useful for that purpose. Besides offering visually, offering the services that the government would have, like, for example, a registry office, and whatever you find in the government, you can put it on the metaverse.
Sure.
And but the money from the sales of these options would go into our sovereign fund, and that would be the source. That would be a good source of revenue for Liberland. I wanted to talk about the law because a country is actually, irrespective of whether you have a land or not, it's actually a set of laws. This is how you know you have a country, and you have to be able to enforce your laws. And as part of the mandate of the, let's say, the Ministry of Finance, it is to put in place the right laws for the future development of Liberland. And we're a non-taxing jurisdiction, so we're being approached by people who would like to include Liberland in their international tax planning. And some people, we're not quite ready at a certain level to do it, but we are getting ready. And so the idea is to put in place the right vehicles, the right, let's say, the right taxation vehicle or non-taxation vehicle, the type of vehicles that are currently used in international tax planning, and that do not get you into trouble or put you on a blacklist or have you branded as a rogue state. We don't want that.
Sure.
So we're treading lightly. We're carefully bring this along, and eventually it will be on the books as our set of laws. But there's all kinds of other things that go from there. And let me explain to you, like, one problem that, for example, we have in law.
Okay.
since we're a non-sovereign state yet, because to be sovereign, you have to be recognized generally by the other states. Uh, Other states won't necessarily accept, for example, a corporation registered in Liberland. When you do, let's say you do transactions with your company or you individually as a Liberlander, if you go to, let's say, Europe and you start doing business with European companies, there may be a problem in law. If, if there's a dispute, then you have to stand as a person in front of a court, as a moral person if you're a company. That can be difficult because the jurisdiction doesn't have to recognize you. Or you do some tax planning and they don't recognize your tax planning because they say, well, Liberland does not exist. Therefore, there is no such thing as a Liberland company. Therefore, so to be able to bank, we had to go around that problem. And there are ways. This is why I'm working with Liberland to help them.
Sure.
So, and we had been looking around the world for jurisdictions that are, let's say, friendly on a number of levels. One of them is the issue of territorial taxation. So generally in a country, when you do activities, whether in your country or outside, most of the countries have a non-territorial tax system. They will tax you on your worldwide income. In the case of the U.S., they actually are taxing you on your citizenship. So
wow.
It's above. But for the rest, most of the world, it's based on tax residency. So if you become a non-resident of the country you're a citizen of, then you don't have to pay tax to that country anymore. You pay tax to the new country in which you reside, even if you're not a citizen of that new country. Mm-hmm. Now, this said, if you're a Liberlander company, you're not recognized, or if you're a Liberlander, other countries or the institutions in other countries don't necessarily want to recognize you first. Mm. So they'll ask you for other types of identification. But in some countries, and we found that in Latin America, there were territorial tax systems where first, if you don't earn money in the country, you're not taxed, and you don't even have to report on the income that you've earned in that country. So that's already a good start. And then, given the banking regulations and the legal regulations, you can actually, as a Liberlander, incorporate a local company as such, or you can incorporate an affiliate. But you are, as a Liberlander or as a Liberland company, the owner of that. And that can now bank in that country. And if you can bank there, you can bank internationally. So it's a way around.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but it's a temporary situation. We don't want that to last forever. We just want to be able for the Liberlanders to coexist with the system as it exists now. And so there's that way. Or you can, and we found an institution willing to work with us, who will accept the documents from Liberland as a basis for banking. Okay, there's some technicalities, but the technicalities are very easy to meet, and then you can do business as a Liberland company, or as a Liberland company. But that would be to have a bank account there. But it's still that to surmount the problem of gaining status in other countries, you still have probably to incorporate a company in one of the countries that we'd recommend. Okay, and so, but it's not possible. So it's just a matter of contacting us, and we can arrange for you to get the right contact. But it's public.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of, money and banking and the Liberland dollar, what is it backed by?
The Liberland dollar?
Yeah. What will it be backed by?
These are tokens, right? So we launched the Liberland blockchain, and for the purpose of managing the government, we are using what we call the merit. And it's essentially we've issued about 70 million merits, which is sort of an arbitrary number we said because there's a sort of a parallel with the 7 square kilometers of Liberland. So, but within that containment, these merits are being used for, let's say, the needs of interacting with the Liberland government. It's essentially an internal government money, let's say, a means of exchange to get to price services within Liberland. And essentially, it's the same with the dollar, but the dollar is used more generally for other transactions within Liberland. It's not really Liberland money per se. It's more something that's on an administrative basis, because Liberland actually, in Liberland you can use bitcoins. You can use,
Okay.
yes. So we don't have an official money. So basically, Bitcoin or other cryptos, whatever is accepted, so it will probably change with time when we see that central banks are challenging a lot of the cryptos right now. They're challenging the big exchanges in the industrialized countries. So they're being, let's say, the crypto space is right now being restricted. So, but Bitcoin will continue, and we will continue to use the Bitcoin.
Very good, very good. And I hope XRP is also one of those as well, because I'm a huge XRP fan.
Okay.
JY, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet about the economy that you want to make sure that we touch on? Any questions I should have asked?
What's important for people to understand is the Liberland's a country. I said it before, and the country is meant to create an environment for people. Liberland does not start businesses. Liberland is a playground. So we want to keep it free, but we want to keep it welcoming. But we want to do it on a level that's highly technological to allow people from around the world, because a lot of Liberlanders, not everybody will be living in Liberland, obviously. So, but wherever they are, we want them to be able to use the services of Liberland, and we want other countries or people in other countries who are not Liberlanders to be able to use our services. Now, especially in the case of mediation and arbitration, I think Liberland, the country, can actually play an active role, and through its legal system. And so this is where we're headed. We're not Liberland. People sometimes come to me and they're trying to they're talking to me as if we are going to become partners with them as sort of in a business. We're a country, right? So we're there to make it possible for them. And we have voluntary taxations. We expect them to contribute to Liberland, either by giving us, a portion of their business if they want to, or give us, a contribution. And this is the level at which we want to do things. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for making some time today, JY. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much.
Where can everyone go to learn more about Liberland?
Liberland.org. Everything is there. We have a new website, so they'll find, and then they can send in a message, and then we'll direct them to the appropriate person. They can even reach me through the website, so it's not a problem.
Great. Thank you so much, JY. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.